Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michael Levin Base Annual Gala. It is our great honor this evening to welcome the United States Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Okay. Thank you. If everybody could be seated. Ambassador Huckabee, we are deeply grateful for your steadfast support and your enduring friendship with the State of Israel. Your presence here with us tonight is truly a privilege. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the stage. It's an honor, really. It's a real honor for all of us to have you here.
Thank you. Well, what a pleasure and blessing it is to be with all of you. Thank you for the gracious welcome. But you scared me because when you stood up, I thought you were all leaving. I thought I was back in the States. They don't love me so much over there, so I'm glad to be here. I've told some folks when I got here that there were a lot of people in Israel when it came time for him to appoint an ambassador. And they said, Mr. President, we really wish you would send us a Maccabee. He misunderstood and he sent a Huckabee instead. I'm so grateful for the incredible reception that my wife and I have experienced here in Jerusalem. We feel at home. My first trip here was 52 years ago when I came as a 17-year-old kid between high school and college. And I've been coming ever since. Started bringing groups in 1981, have brought tens of thousands of people to Israel over the many years, and made over 100 trips here prior to becoming ambassador. So I told people that, I said, it's the one place on earth that I wouldn't have to have a tourist map to find my way around, so that's a good thing. But I want to say just what a blessing it is to be placed here in an incredible land that I believe was a land that God chose for the Jewish people 4,000 years ago. And it's a distinct privilege for me to represent the President and the United States to be able to come to this land where America is not just a friend or an ally, but it is an actual partner with the State of Israel. And by that I mean that we share more than we share with any other nation on earth. And I know from time to time there are rumors that, well, Israel and America, we're not getting along, and there's some division, and there's some dust up. And I just want to tell you that's not true. Our relationship has never been stronger. There's nothing fractured about it. In fact, I've said to people, look, I've been married 51 years, so let me just say something about that. The fact is, there comes a point where there's just no point in even thinking about getting a divorce. First, you've swam so far across the river, you don't want to turn around and go back the other way. And the second, and this is true of the U.S. relationship with Israel, the reason Israel and the U.S. will never get a divorce is because neither country can afford to pay the alimony if we ever did. So I hope you love the U.S. as much as the U.S. loves you, because quite frankly, we're hooked up for life. In my brief moments with you tonight, I want to say what a privilege it is to be here for this occasion to honor the lone soldiers, the 7,000 extraordinary men and women who come here by choice, who love the State of Israel, who believe that Israel is worth defending, worth potentially sacrificing one's life. I've known families who live in America whose sons and daughters came to Israel in order to serve in the IDF. And some of those children never returned home because they gave their lives in sacrifice. But they did it willingly. They didn't do it because they had to. They did it because They chose to. Why would someone choose to give one's life for Israel? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with an understanding that this is the last refuge for the Jewish people on earth. When anti-Semitism rears its ugly, nasty, and evil head across the world in levels that I never thought I would live to see, I thought we were done with that level of hatred toward Jewish people. I really thought that after the Holocaust, and when people across the globe would say never again, I really thought we meant it, never again. But sadly, we see this evil rise up. And I've asked myself, why? Why is this irrational attitude even existing in what should be an educated and sophisticated world? And quite frankly, what is most troubling is that it's in many cases the most educated that are guilty of reviving the anti-Semitism and hatred for Jewish people. It is irrational. That's the only word I can come up with because there's no rhyme nor reason to it. It's not based on anything that makes sense. So why? But here's the only reason that I can come to a conclusion over. And that is because Israel represents something that a world like ours today wants to deny. Israel represents that God did in fact choose a people, and He chose a place, this place, Israel, and He chose a purpose. The purpose was to reveal His law and His light to the world. And through the Jewish people there would be a revelation of who God is and what He wishes for us to be. And if someone rejects that and wants to worship the created rather than the Creator, then at some point you will hate and despise those who most represent the Creator. So it's not a geopolitical issue. It's not a socio-economic issue. It is a spiritual issue. And that's why it is so very important that we recognize that it is evil versus good. It is not the left versus the right. It is the up versus the down. And there are brave men and women who come to Israel to stand for righteousness, to stand for this nation, who don't have to, but who choose to. We call them the lone soldiers, but I would suggest to you, they're not alone. God is with them. He gives them strength, He gives them courage, and they sometimes give their lives so that the rest of us can know that even if chased across the planet, there will be a place, that same place that God gave to the Jewish people 4,000 years ago, so that when they come home, they will be home in a place that will be safe, because many, including the lone soldiers, will protect that place and protect their security and give them a homeland where they will be free. In 1973, the same year that I came to Israel for the first time, after the Yom Kippur War, a war that Israel could have and in many ways should have lost, someone asked Prime Minister Golda Meir, what was Israel's secret weapon? Because surely there must be one. How could this tiny little country, attacked by so many neighbors with so many more resources, how on earth could they survive and even win and end up being able to win in such a convincing way that the world would be in awe? What is the secret weapon? And Golda Meir, 52 years ago, said, because we have nowhere else to go. Tonight, I pay tribute to all of you who are donors, all of you who contribute generously to make the life of the lone soldier safer, happier, giving them a sense of hospitality. And when they're away and separated from their families by thousands of miles, it's your kindness, your hospitality, your care for them that makes them know that not only God is with them, but you are with them as well. And tonight, as the U.S. ambassador to Israel, I say to you that the U.S. is with you. And I want you to understand, I will never use the term, the United States is behind you. Because after 30 years in politics, what I learned was, yeah, people are behind me, way behind me. No, it's not enough to say we're behind you. I'd rather say it as it is. We are with you. Shoulder to shoulder, we are with you. Thank you. God bless you. And may you continue to bless the lone soldiers. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Ambassador Huckabee. That message was one full of love, belief, inspiring, and very meaningful, and full of humor. Thank you for standing alongside us, and thank you for making this one of your longest visits to Israel. We really appreciate you as a friend and your complete and utter love for Israel. Thank you. We're going to stand up for one of you again. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you. Wow, what a man. Unfortunately, Michael Oren, one of our most famous lone soldiers, is unable to join us this evening in person. However, he has graciously prepared a special video message, which we are delighted to share with you now.
To His Excellency, Mike Huckabee, Ambassador of the United States to the State of Israel, and one of the greatest friends this country and our people have ever known. To Mark and Harriet Levin, of course, and to the donors, Arthur and Ann Goldberg, to each and every one of you, lone soldiers, Banot Shavut, Shalom. First, I want to apologize. I'm sorry for not being able to be with you this evening. I've been called to the United States, but you should know that my thoughts and my heart are always with you. I don't like aging myself too much, but I have to say this, that close to a half century ago, I was a lone soldier in the IDF. Back then, there weren't very many of us, and we didn't get very many rights. You scoot ahead those 50 years, and today there are thousands of lone soldiers and Banot Shavut in the IDF serving this country and our people, and they do get a fair amount of benefits. But at the end of the day, being a lone soldier, being a Bat Shavut is never easy. Being away from your family, being sometimes in a strange culture. You may speak some Hebrew, but you may not know all the names of the parts of a grenade. And then, of course, going out to defend this country, risking your life, risking everything you have in order to defend each and every one of us. There is no greater zchut, no greater privilege than being that lone soldier, being that Bat Shavut, and acting so selflessly on the behalf of Israel and the Jewish people. Tonight, the panel will be discussing the challenges of anti-Semitism, the very important issue that is facing the Jewish people worldwide and will impact our situation here in the State of Israel. So I want to thank and wish the best to all our panel participants. But above all, I want to say thank you. Toda, toda rabba, mikirv lev, to all the lone soldiers, to all the Banot Shavut. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for each and every one of us, for Jews here and throughout the world. Toda rabba, from the bottom of our hearts. Mikirv lev.
We are very honored this evening to have another distinguished Michael joining us on stage. Michael Dixon, the Executive Director of Stand With Us Israel. Stand With Us is a global leader in Israel education and anti-Semitism advocacy. Its mission is to fight anti-Semitism, educate about Israel, and foster informed dialogue on campuses and in communities worldwide. Stand With Us empowers people of all ages to challenge misinformation, promote understanding, and defend civil and human rights. In 2025, Michael Dixon was honored by the Knesset Caucus for Public Diplomacy for his unwavering commitment to defending Israel and the truth during the October 7th war. Not only is Michael come to speak to us, but also there's a fire on train tracks in Tel Aviv, which unfortunately means that Elon Levy will not be joining us this evening. as all the trains have been stopped. But Michael has very kindly offered to moderate this evening. Let's give him a huge, warm welcome. Thank you so much.
So good to be here. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Who among you told the Houthis that I was here? Own up. Own up. What an amazing turnout, an amazing crowd, and for an amazing cause. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's wonderful to be with you. And Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to join you. So yes, he was due to be here in person, but instead you got a different Michael. And I'm more than happy to stand in for our friend Michael Oren. As the biblical verse says, a Michael for a Michael, a Mike for a Mike. Something like that, I think. I'm sure Reverend Huckabee can give us chapter and verse on that. But seriously, wonderful to be with you tonight. How lucky are we to have a friend and an ally like Ambassador Mike Huckabee? Thank you for your everlasting bond with the Jewish people and with Israel. Truly, not just a Huckabee, but a Maccabee too. When I made Aliyah to Israel and I stepped off the plane, I carried with me a 9-month-old boy in a baby seat. Fast forward 13 years, and for his bar mitzvah, that baby boy was raising money in the name of Michael Levin for lone soldiers. Now fast forward to 19 years, and last week that baby boy stood at the Western Wall as an IDF paratrooper, proudly receiving his Bible in one hand and his gun in the other. And so as an Israeli and as a father of a combat soldier, I would like to say a profound thank you to the Michael Levin base for all that they do, for all of our lone soldiers. And at Stand With Us, we are proud to work with the base, including we've hosted in the past their annual Thanksgiving dinner, their Hanukkah dinners, and we love seeing their soldiers and their Benot Shurut. So I've been asked to say a few words before our panel on anti-Semitism. I'm not sure there are just a few words to say, unfortunately. But since October the 7th, anti-Semitism has escalated to unprecedented levels. My focus in my initial remarks will be on campus, which is a problem that we deal with very much in our work, but we'll talk about all different spheres with our distinguished panel in just a moment. But I don't know if any of you had the misfortune to watch the Emmys this week. I certainly didn't, but I did see some clips. And I saw some Hollywood stars who found a voice, or rather wanted to show off their voice for a misguided cause, but did not have a voice for the hostages still languishing in Gaza, who we pray for every single day that they should be released as soon as possible. And so it occurred to me that they could never make a remake of The Wizard of Oz in Hollywood, because they wouldn't be able to find anyone with a brain, no one with a heart, and certainly no one with any courage. To campus, and we've seen Jewish and pro-Israel students face extreme bias, harassment, discrimination, and even violence. Since then, we've responded to thousands of incidents of anti-Semitism across US campuses. And behind every number is a young person who came to university to study, to grow, to make friends, and instead found themselves targeted simply for being Jewish or for supporting Israel. And meanwhile, Jewish professors, 72% of them, report witnessing anti-Semitism from colleagues. There is a phrase that you often hear from anti-Israel activists. They say, this didn't begin on October the 7th. They shouted at rallies, they tweeted at me whenever I post on social media, and they say this in order to do two things: to minimize the horrors of October the 7th, and to pin the blame on Israel, implying that the massacre wasn't as bad as we say, and that Israel had it coming. You can expect to hear this more. And yet, in one sense, it's true. This didn't begin on October the 7th. Israel has faced jihadist terrorism since our rebirth as a state and long before. As you know, every year on Yom HaZikaron, the Israeli Ministry of Defense puts out the numbers of the fallen. They publish them not since 1948, but since 1860. Jews were being attacked long before there was a reborn state of Israel to blame. And outside Israel, nobody suddenly woke up on October the 8th and decided to be an anti-Semite. The wave of campus hate that we've seen since then has been fermenting for decades. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks called anti-Semitism the world's oldest hatred, and like a virus, it mutates. The strain that we're seeing today is as virulent as ever, infecting classrooms, protests, faculty lounges, and online spaces. Back in 2001, some of you may recall the horrific murder of two Israeli teenagers, Kobe Mandel and Yosef Ishran, in Tekoa. Their deaths were reported in the West with a cruel twist. Well, they were settlers. Sound familiar? The founders of our organization gathered Jewish leaders together at the time and asked what is being done to push back on the lies and disinformation. The answers weren't good enough, and so Stand With Us was born to educate, to empower, and to tell people of all ages the truth about Israel. And the need is greater than ever. Let me share just a few campus stories. At DePaul University, our Stand With Us Emerson fellow Michael, another Michael, set up tables each week to answer questions, share Israel's story, and foster dialogue. Masked assailants attacked him and a friend. Michael was left with nerve damage in his arm, and to this day, his attackers remain unidentified. At UC Berkeley, a Jewish student was assaulted at a pro-Hamas protest. Think about that for a moment. A pro-Hamas protest in the United States, it beggars belief. The Houthis are really out for us tonight, huh? We will continue unabated. So at UC Berkeley, that Jewish student was attacked at a pro-Hamas protest. A year later, the same student was attacked again at another rally. Both times, campus police refused to investigate. We've since filed a Title VI complaint against Berkeley. In Holland, our fellow Idor was threatened simply for screening footage of the October 7th massacre. And in the UK, at Queen Mary University, a vigil marking October the 7th was surrounded and shut down by an aggressive rally, leaving Jewish students in need of a police escort. These aren't isolated, they're part of a global pattern. Jewish students bullied, spat on, and threatened, sometimes by classmates, sometimes by faculty, often with administrators doing nothing. The cause? Faculty themselves radicalizing students, administrators failing to enforce their own rules, or worse, standing by, divestment campaigns gaining a platform before boards of trustees, and a widespread ignorance of Zionism, leaving leaders unable to even recognize anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism, and people not knowing the foundational truth that the Jewish state has, that the Jewish state is to the Jewish people. This cannot be allowed to continue. So to conclude, what should be done? First, legal remedies. Universities have a legal responsibility to protect Jewish students. That's why we've built a network of 450 pro bono attorneys to pursue Title VI cases, and why we filed federal lawsuits to hold administrations accountable. Legal victories have set precedents at universities that they can no longer ignore, and we're appreciative of the administration that is holding university leadership accountable. Second, education. We must continue to train administrators and community leaders to recognize when anti-Israel activism crosses into anti-Semitism, and to understand Jewish identity and Zionism. We will prepare more students to share their experiences in Congress, to lobby trustees, and to challenge BDS proposals with facts and confidence. And third and finally, building community. The most important thing we can tell a student is, you are never alone. Yes, you may lose friends, but you'll find new ones, better ones, and you'll find yourself. We must continue to help students build clubs, host events, partner with other Jewish groups, and when needed, gather off campus for safety and offer emotional support so that students feel sane, proud, and strong. Especially as we recall the assassination of the devoted friend of Israel and of the Jewish people, Charlie Kirk. We must dedicate ourselves to ensuring extremists cannot shut down debate with violence. Because this is not just about defense. If you're explaining, you're losing. We must have a clear, consistent narrative that Zionism is not a crime, but a movement of indigenous return. It's justice, it's dignity, it's the story of a people back in their homeland. That's not PR, my friends, that's education, and it resonates. So things can seem bleak, but let me leave you with hope. The fact is, more and more young people are coming forward than ever to take the message out to campus and to the world. If we have more time I could tell you about Jamie from Ireland, who had his Israeli flags violently snatched from him by a professor and used that to shine a light on campus radicalism. Or Idan in Sydney, Australia, who's taking a leading role in tabling and promoting Israel on campus there and educating even those who formerly called themselves anti-Israel. Or Leah at Brown, who fought successfully to have the school's board of trustees reject divestment from Israel. Or Ariel in Sao Paulo, who after a professor called Hamas freedom fighters, took on a leading role in educating his campus, not to mention the millions and millions and hundreds of millions of people engaging with pro-Israel social media, and I could go on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not just preaching to the choir. More and more, there is an awakening. The silent majority, suddenly not so silent. So the challenge is clear. We must protect our students legally, educate them and their administrations. We must surround them with a network of community and pride. We must support them in building resilience, in telling our story with clarity, and in standing tall. We must cherish our allies and deepen those relationships. The virus of anti-Semitism has mutated again, but our response as a community has adapted in return. And with our resolve at an all-time high, together we are stronger than ever. Thank you very much. So let's begin by introducing our fabulous panelists. Our first is an award-winning journalist and the author of 4 nonfiction books. His work has appeared in the New York Times, The Atlantic, Tablet, Smithsonian, and elsewhere. He's also a columnist for the Free Press. His most recent book, I think this is his most recent book, Who by Fire, Leonard Cohen in the Sinai, was published in 2022. His previous book, Spies of No Country, Secret Lives at the Birth of Israel, won the 2019 Natan Prize and the Canadian Jewish Book Awards. Other notable books, Pumpkin Flowers, A Soldier's Story of a Forgotten War, and the Aleppo Codex. His books have been translated into more than a dozen languages. Please welcome Matty Freeman. And as Matty comes to the stage, our next guest is no stranger to the Michael Levin bass. Born in London, she grew up in Gibraltar, speaking English and Spanish. Her father was mayor and first minister of Gibraltar, and she has continued a distinguished career and legacy in politics, and her public service has been monumental. She's been the deputy mayor of Jerusalem, and she's currently the foreign ministry special envoy. She's been intimately involved in the Abraham Accords, of course, this week, celebrating 5 years of that historic agreement. Please join me in welcoming Fleur Hassan Nahum. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, born in Israel, his parents emigrated from Scandinavia. He grew up in Talpiot. He's a Jerusalem boy. He's been a member of the Jerusalem City Council for many years. Before becoming the leader of the City Council, he's had a huge contribution to Jerusalem affairs and has been a great friend of this charity. Please welcome Adir Schwartz. Okay, and as we mic up our other panelists, it's you and me. It's just you and me. I feel like we're in Downton Abbey. Can you pass the salt?
I think we agree that you would impersonate Elon Levin, I would be Michael Oren.
That's great. It's great. We're both, at least we've got the accents.
I don't have the height, unfortunately.
It may be just that. So let's begin with you, Matty. I want to ask you, our focus tonight is anti-Semitism. And of course, anti-Semitism has spiked since October the 7th. We've all seen that. But how has it, in the field of media, which of course you're so intimately involved in, how have you seen that manifest from October the 7th?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for all the great work you're doing. I don't want to waste too much time, but I'd just like to, dedicate a moment to all the soldiers who are going into Gaza, the lone soldiers and the not lone soldiers, all the people who are doing what it takes to keep us safe, including my family members and friends. So a prayer for them before we dive in. I actually avoid the word anti-Semitism, which is inconvenient when we're having an evening devoted to anti-Semitism, because what are we supposed to call it? But through many years of thinking about this and trying to figure out what exactly this force is, I find that it's more useful to explain what exactly we're talking about, because often we use a word like anti-Semitism and it's a name that's too simple for the phenomenon that it describes. So my approach to this was developed while serving as a reporter and editor at the AP, which is the world's biggest news organization, where I encountered what I think we would call anti-Semitism, but it took me a while to figure out exactly what it was. What is anti-Semitism, in my opinion? It's the tendency that's repeated over many, many centuries and in many societies to illustrate the ills of the world with a story about Jews. And I think if we see it that way, then it makes it easier to see why, for example, right now in America, there would be a movement on the right that portrays Jews as avatars of global capitalism, drivers of non-white immigration in an attempt to dilute white America. That's the anti-Jewish narrative on the right, which is very powerful and very current. At the same time, on the left, you have a narrative about Jews representing colonialism, racism, nationalism, militarism, and all the ills that the left believes are most urgent in the world. So if we understand it that way, we can understand why capitalists in the 1800s saw Jews as communists, and why communists, including Karl Marx, saw the Jews as the uber capitalists, the representatives of capitalism, and it's why many Christians view Jews as anti-Christians, and it's why nationalists view Jews as universalists, while universalists portray Jews as clannish or too tribal. So these are contradictory narratives, but they all share the same instinct, which is, what ills do we see in the world? That ill is best personified by Jews. That is my attempt at a simple explanation of something complicated, which is, what are the ills that are being illustrated here? The ills of the West: inequality, power imbalances, violence against the weak, a victimization of civilians. These are the ills that animate the left in the West. The left in the West has come to dominate, if not control, the press, the academy, and the world of NGOs. Basically, the intellectual world has now come under the sway of a fairly radical core of activists, and they have driven the narrative in a direction that is in some ways unfamiliar, because we haven't heard something quite like this in the past 2,000 years. But in many ways it is familiar, because once again, Jews are being held up as the personification of evil, the evil that must be conquered in order to bring the world to greater justice. That is more or less what I've seen since October 7th. And I have to say, it didn't start on October 7th, as your friends from Twitter keep telling you, although from after October 7th, it certainly broke through the surface and came to the attention of many people who had been really trying very hard not to think about it. And one of the silver linings of this time is that now we have no choice. It's hard to find silver linings. There are very few. But at least now, many people who were asleep are awake, and at least we're thinking about it in ways that won't solve it, because it can't really be solved, but will allow us to better defend ourselves.
Absolutely. And so let me turn to you, Fleur. Were you surprised by not necessarily October 7th, which certainly caught a lot of people by surprise, but October the 8th and onwards?
That's a good question. I don't think I was surprised about what was happening in campus, because for a long time it was building up to that. We know how bad, how toxic campus anti-Semitism was. You know, many of us who were invited to campuses were invited before October 7th under heavy security, people scared, protests and all of that. That was already going on. What was interesting, that after October 7th, the mask was off. What do I mean by that? Up until October 7th, they were still pretending that anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism were two different things, even though we knew that it wasn't. But they were still pretending. And after October 7th, they stopped pretending. So in a way, that taking off of the mask accelerated, like Matti says, just seeing everybody for who they are, even though they're wearing masks in a different way. But everybody, it's now clear who the anti-Semites are, because they're not saying death to the Zionists. They're basically saying death to the Jews. They're harassing Jews. And the only Jews that they won't harass are the ones who disassociate themselves from being Jewish. The as a Jew Jews, like we saw in the Emmys this week, those cowards. And so that's what surprised me, because I thought, if you were actually doing a proper campaign to take over the West or to bring down the Jews, you maybe should not say it out loud. So I think that in many ways, October the 7th accelerated many different processes that we're seeing today. So we saw the soft Islamist colonization of the West, and now people are aware, like we saw in London this weekend. We saw the creeping in of anti-Semitism in academia. Now it's in the open. And we also saw who's paying for it. Qatar, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and other bad actors, and now everybody knows. So October 7th just pulled out the masks. That's what it did.
Absolutely. Let me turn to you, Adir, because you're sitting here in Jerusalem. What was the Israeli view on what suddenly exploded around the world? In as much as Israelis could even think about that, they were dealing with the very real issues here on the ground after October the 7th. But seeing the world now, how did they view it?
Well, first of all, good evening, everybody, and I want to thank you so much for being here. It's a side note, and I'm sorry for doing that, but I want to tell you that the work that is being done by the Michael Levin base is so important. And it has nothing to do with the question, and I'm sorry, but it's just, I had to say. Well, I kind of have the privilege of seeing it from 2 points of views. From an Israeli point of view, especially from a young Israeli point of view, I think being Israel during a time of war can feel very, very lonely. You know, when there was a terror attack in Paris, of course it was a horrible terror attack, but my entire generation, our entire generation, has replaced their profile pictures on Facebook and Instagram with the Je suis Paris. Yeah, we are all with Paris. When the Ukraine war started, everybody switched their profile pictures into Ukrainian flags. And suddenly, when it's Israel, and when October 7 happened, and we were still, trying to figure out how do we deal with the fact that my grandfather's stories from the Holocaust came to real life here. So it felt really, really lonely. And I think I'm so sorry that Mike Huckabee is not here to hear this, but because the support of the people who did supported us, it resonated in such a way that I think it wouldn't be like that otherwise. I have another point of view. My wife studies at Yale. I'm so proud of her, but there is 3 problems with that. The first one is Yale is very hard for an Israeli to say. Second, it's very, very far away. And New Haven, and I'm sorry if I'm offensive to anybody here, it's not a great city. It's the Ashdod of America.
You can get away with that in Jerusalem.
I'm sorry, nothing personal. And on October 7th, what happened to her, and I was able to witness it from her eyes, of course, first and foremost, it's the horror, right? Like we all experienced, we all saw the videos, etc. The WhatsApp group, the group WhatsApp of her cohort, the first response was, we pray for the people in Israel and Pakistan. This very girl that wrote that has become one of the leaders of the pro-Palestinian campaign at the Yale University. Her initial response, peace for Pakistan. Her second response is being anti-Israeli. And I came to her, and I came to my wife's finishing ceremony. She finished her master's degree and then continued to her doctorate. And in her ceremony, I couldn't eat the shrimp cocktail and whatever they were serving. So I was counting. I was pounding and counting, and I saw and I counted the kafiyas in the room, and it was around 70% of the participants wore a kafiya. This is something we need to address because being anti-Israeli, being anti-Semitic became so, free. It's something that you do because this is what's expected of you. It became, this virtue signaling, this something that you do in order to feel accepted. By the way, everybody was with their kafiyas, and I want to tell you something about those Yale students. There was one guy in the entire cohort sitting on a wheelchair. And everybody was dancing with their kafiyas, but nobody was looking at him. And this goes to show. I think this would never happen here in Israel, and this, I think, goes to show a lot about their character, about what they're really all about. But this is our job. This is the job of our generation to discuss with our counterparts abroad, because we cannot just whine about it, and we need to do something. And I think the job that you're doing is really, really meaningful.
Thank you. A job we're all doing together. Thank you so much, Adir. Matty, so you diagnosed the issue very succinctly, dealing with a thousands-of-year-old issue. But I wanted to ask you, let's look back at your career in the media. Fleur said the mask slipped. Have you seen instances before where that mask has slipped?
I think that is true, that many things that were said in a way that was a bit ambiguous until October 7th is now said more explicitly. So when I was at the AP, this is between 2006 and the very end of 2011, the story was the Palestinians and the free world want a two-state solution, and the Israelis are recalcitrant and stubborn, and they won't give them the two-state solution. And I wrote myself hundreds of times when I was at the AP a line that we call boilerplate in the press. Boilerplate is copy that does not have to be attributed. So it's something you can just write without quoting someone. And the boilerplate was the Palestinians want to create an independent state in the West Bank and Gaza with its capital in East Jerusalem. I wrote it so many times that I can still recite it almost 15 years later without even thinking. And that is, in fact, a lie. And it's a lie that has informed much of the discourse around Israel. But if you'll notice that since October 7th, that has largely been dropped. The pretense that the problem is that Israel won't accept a two-state solution has largely been dropped. And now the assault is in a much more essential way against the character of the Israeli state. And you saw it happen before October 7th when a few big NGOs, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty, released a report saying that Israel is an apartheid state. That was before October 7th. That means a state that has no right to exist. That's what it means. Apartheid in our times is a euphemism for evil, like genocide. It's a way of saying this thing is evil and it has to be made to go away. So the narrative was already shifting before, but it was never true. There's never really been a movement among, unfortunately, for someone like me whose loyalties have traditionally been with I would say the center left of Israeli politics. The tragedy has been that there has never really been any significant desire for a two-state solution on the Palestinian side. But everyone pretended that there was, and it allowed the character assassination of Israel for rejecting proposals that most of us in Israel have understood since 2000, when the Second Intifada erupted, were not real. So that mask has slipped in many ways, and the advent of social media, in which I'm not an expert because I'm ancient, I'm 47, so I barely understand it myself. I was born in the 70s. The advent of social media has really shown us behind the mask, because what happened is that reporters whose bylines would appear on stories would be posting things on Twitter and Facebook in a personal capacity that made their political allegiances completely apparent. And that has been used to great effect, including by Stand With Us, to show, this reporter from Gaza, who seems like a correspondent for the BBC, has actually supported the gassing of all Jews like Hitler, and that's more or less a direct quote. So in many cases, the mask was not on social media. It was supposedly on in professional capacities while reporting or while serving as a professor at the University of Toronto or at Harvard, or as serving as a human rights rapporteur for the United Nations. But social media has really eliminated all of the masks in a way that's good and in a way that's bad. I wish that I knew a lot less about people than I do, including people who I used to like, including people on our own side. I think we talk too much, and there's not enough editing of our internal monologues before they become external. So as a reporter and as a writer, I really appreciate what an editor does. Editors are extremely important because they say, stop, don't say that. Don't write that. And that's a very important function, because most of what we think should not be said, and yet the filter has been removed. So someone who probably we wouldn't have been able to know 20 years ago that the BBC reporter in Gaza also believes that Hitler was a great guy. Now we know, because people have allowed the masks to be completely eliminated, and we're still pretending that the mainstream press exists when it really doesn't. We're still pretending that the Ivy League exists as it used to. It doesn't really. We're still pretending that the liberal West, as we knew it up to the 90s and maybe a bit past the 90s, still exists. But all the masks are gone. We know that there's really nothing behind it. To use another Wizard of Oz metaphor, there's nothing behind the curtain. There's the figure behind the curtain is not an all-powerful observer who's getting everything right. In fact, often the person behind the curtain is a bigot or a fool, and that's been made apparent to us in a way that I think has been very painful for many of us to witness.
And so important that we unmask those bigots. And of course, you were a very early whistleblower about anti-Semitism and the general atmosphere in the media. So we should thank you very much for that. Fleur, you have been front and center of public diplomacy since October the 7th, non-stop TV interviews in English and Spanish all over the place. You've been watching, right? You've been watching, Fleur? Yes, I thought you had. What are some of the most egregious things you've seen when going in the lion's den?
How
like
long do
Piers
we have?
Morgan and all of these
How
horrific...
long do we have? Well, let me tell you today. So they called me, the BBC called me this morning. They called me last night. Can you do an interview? And I'm like, actually, I'm at a conference. Well, when can you do? I said, I can do 1 o'clock. Okay, so I get to the conference of the Jerusalem Post that I'm speaking at. I go to a side room to do a BBC interview. And the report, okay, spends about 5 minutes talking about how we're moving people out of the way from Gaza City and all these poor people who have to leave Gaza City. And then they'd go into the genocide accusation. After they've spent 10 minutes essentially contradicting themselves, because if you want to commit genocide, why are you moving people out of the way? So I pointed that out. And I got a text from a friend of mine from New York who got up extremely early and had watched the BBC interview. Look, it's ridiculous, the amount of... It's like Matty says, the news are not telling you the news anymore. There's an agenda, and they will shape whatever information they get to fit the agenda. And the agenda is very simple. Israel is the oppressor. It doesn't matter what happens, that we were attacked, that we were massacred, that we were killed, we were raped. It doesn't matter. Israel is the oppressor, and the Palestinians are the oppressed. Because after 1967, up until then, I would say, and maybe just the years following 1967, Israel was David and the region was Goliath. And then there was a very deliberate effort to zoom in rather than see the zoom out of the region. And once you zoom in, then Israel is Goliath and the Palestinians are David. And that has been the campaign, very nicely funded by Qatar and the Islamic Republic and China to many extents. And it's a really good, deliberate campaign. And so the accusations, Channel 4, it never ends. I would say that when I started on October 7th, that morning, even though I'm a Shabbat observant, but when I realized we were at war and the media was calling me, I thought, I guess this is my miluim now. And from the very first moment, when people were still sympathetic, I knew that in 48 hours everything would turn. I knew it. And in America, it took a couple of weeks. In Europe, it took 24, 48 hours, and the whole thing turned around. And I kind of knew it was going to happen. So the only thing I would say is, it's horrible. I could give you many examples, and I like to punch back, and it's fun, and people like it when I punch back, and it's great. But it's actually very depressing when I finish an interview, even if I've done really well, because I think how much hatred there is towards us. How much hatred, how blind can they be? And that leaves me with a horrible feeling, even when I win, even when I punch.
Which is most of the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fleur. I dare, with your vantage point here in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem, mostly, or many Jerusalemites in the audience tonight, Jerusalem has so much to counter that stereotype that's labeled against Israel. The libels that we see about what Israel is, an apartheid state, and all these crazy slurs. What can we do to give that more focus in the world?
Yeah, I think today Jerusalem is a better brand than Israel, and I think we should. I think maybe it was like that even before October 7th, but I think we should definitely use that. We are using that. Just yesterday, Israel is hosting right now 250 legislators, state legislators from the United States, from all 50 states. It's called 50 States, One Israel. Yesterday, Netanyahu spoke with them, and Mike Huckabee, and maybe you saw some of the headlines. And we had arranged the whole night for them here in Jerusalem. And I think once you get to see Jerusalem, and it's good for a Jerusalemite to see it sometimes from an outside eye, because we forget what a beautiful, beautiful city we have. And I took some of them out They asked me to take them out on town to see the nightlife of Jerusalem. We can improve the nightlife of Jerusalem. But we went out, and I want to tell you, those legislators, they can drink. But it was really interesting to see it from their point of view, and just talking about Jerusalem, and they told me a lot of times during our night, they told me, I did not know that. I did not know that. Nobody speaks about this fact. Nobody speaks about that fact. Information is just not out there enough. Even those people who should know, there are legislators who came. And this is, some of them are Democrats, some of them are Republicans, some of them are more to the left, some of them are more to the right. It is a move for a politician to come to Israel. It's a statement of its own, right? Yeah. And you cannot hide anything, right? We're politicians. If we used to be in City Hall together, but in different parties. And you know, if I knew that if I was doing a mistake, Flair would make sure people know I'm doing a mistake. You know, you cannot hide it.
No.
And no, Flair and I, we always got along. But others, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a statement of its own. And they are the people who should know and should understand, but they do not know enough. And I think, you know, again, this is our responsibility. And I do think Israel as a state is not doing enough.
Absolutely.
I do think Jerusalem as a municipality is not doing enough. I think civil society is doing an amazing job as it does, but it has its limits. And I think we need to step up our game, and we need to do it, well, it would have been nice if we were to do it 10 years ago, but if not today, so tomorrow. But I do think we have a good case, and we have some good talking points, because when we talk, they listen, and when they listen, they understand.
I'm being told that we have limited time, so just as a final wrap-up question, I want to ask you what gives you hope. Maybe we can leave the audience with some hope, with something hopeful for the future. We're grasping for it. So Matti, to you.
This will sound weird, but I was at, just this morning, the Holocaust Museum at Lochamei Getaot. Many of you have probably been there. I had actually never been there, and it's really worth a visit. And of course, it's incredibly dark, and there are, you know, pictures of the worst actions known to man, and there's a model of I think it's Majdanek, and it's just a dark and terrible place as you can imagine. And yet there's incredible hope in it, because you walk out of that place and you see the country and you realize what has been accomplished here in barely 8 decades. The Jewish people, you know, basically form a refugee camp in the Middle East, and here we are, right? So if that could be pulled off. And I'm not saying this is someone of any particular religious faith. I'm not saying, you know, this is not coming from a mystic sense of the arc of history bending toward justice. I'm just saying this as a journalist and a writer who's written a lot about Israeli history. That actually happens, right? We're proof that it happened, because we're sitting here right now in the results of everything that's been achieved by the Zionist movement in the past 80 years, 100 years, 120 years. If that could be done, then anything can be done. So if we can be here 80 years after that, then 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or 80 years from now, the sky's the limit. For that to happen, we need to have the right leadership, which we do not have. We need to have better ideas. We need a vision for where we're going, which we do not have, which they had in 1948, and we do not have now. And those are all big vacuums that need to be filled and will be filled. But what we do have is the most amazing people in the world. And again, I'm saying that as someone who's not, I don't have my rose-tinted glasses on. I've been here for 30 years, and I've seen a lot about this country, not all of it beautiful, but we have the best people in the world, the most talented, creative, and dedicated people in the world. And with those people, we can accomplish anything. And again, I'm saying that as someone who just looks around and sees that that's a self-evident truth. So that's why I'm hopeful.
Thank you very much. Adir, the same question to you. What gives you hope?
Well, I think we need, in order to be really optimistic, we need to take a step back. You know, we are a people of 4,000 years. And the last 2 years, it's a whole chapter in our history books, and that means something, right? Like the same way that I learned in school about the Exodus and the Roman uprising and about the Kishinev, Praot Kishinev, and about the Holocaust, and about the exportation from Spain and England, etc., etc. In 500 years, in 700 years, in 1,000 years, students are going to be sitting and talking to some AI something, and it's going to tell them about October 7th. And it's not fun to live history. It's not fun. For all of us, it has been a horrible 2 years that I, please God, hope are going to end soon with the return of our hostages.
Amen, amen.
With victory, with prosperity, with calmer and quieter times for the people of Zion. But we do need to look at that from this perspective. And you know, the first paragraph of this chapter was written already. Hamas has written that paragraph. We cannot erase that, never. The second paragraph is being written by the IDF soldiers in the front, in the north, in the south, in Iran, in Yemen, in Qatar, apparently,
Let's not talk about that.
and the lone soldiers are an important part of that, and I hope this paragraph would resonate in history as a paragraph of glorious, glorious achievement and victory.
Amen.
The third paragraph, and I'm finishing, was written by the civil society of Israel. I want to take you back for the first year of the war. First half a year of the war, I had personally the privilege of leading the Jerusalem Civilian Command Center. We had 7,000 volunteers only here in Jerusalem. And if I'm going to be judged in the heavens one day, I want to be judged only on these few months, because never have I seen such volunteerism, such activism, such action-taking, responsibility, unity, and it was amazing to see. And that also, nobody will be able to erase that. The fourth paragraph, and I'm connecting to you, we haven't started reading yet. And I think what's clear is that this is a paragraph that we all should write together. We spoke about anti-Semitism. This is, of course, not only an Israeli issue, this is a Jewish issue that we need to cooperate on from all the corners of the earth to make Israel a success story. Once again, to find a way to do that. And I'm so optimistic that we are able to do that, because when I look at you guys, and I see the fact that you have dedicated a night here, and you dedicated your time and money and efforts to support the Michael Levin base and everything that you're doing all around, and everything that other people do, I cannot not be, I'm definitely 100% optimistic. And please God, and Shana Tova, everybody.
Thank you so much. And Fleur, to you the final word.
Well, I can say that I saw a deer in action in that civilian efforts in Jerusalem, and it was just impressive to see how many people showed up, and that does give me hope. But I will say a few things. First of all, I've got a few kids, two of them who've now done the army, one of them who just went into the army 3 weeks ago, and my other two recruited before October 7th. And when I went with my daughter to her recruitment day, the feeling was very different. It was much more different for me. And then I thought to myself, you know, my daughter calls me up, one day she's okay, one day she's crying, one day she's like this. And I think these lone soldiers who come all the way from different countries, thousands of miles away, that don't have their parents giving them meals and cooking them food and doing their laundry. My daughter comes home on Friday and I don't stop doing laundry. I stop before Shabbat, after Shabbat. That's my weekend, laundry. And these kids who come here with no support, and thank God that we have the Michael Levin base to be able to do this, because let me tell you, you know, Israeli kids are tough as nails, but they've got their families here. So imagine how tough these kids are that are coming from abroad and doing this, like Mike Huckabee said, out of choice. And so my hat goes out to them, and that gives me a lot of hope. But I have to say something about the Abraham Accords, because we're celebrating 5 years yesterday. And there are a lot of tensions, especially this week, especially with the whole Qatar thing. But I want to leave people with this. Nobody 5 years ago would have said that once we signed the Abraham Accords with the UAE, then Bahrain, then Morocco, then Sudan, and they were starting to talk with Saudi and other parties, nobody would ever think that we would have survived 2 years of a protracted war in the Arab world, not just with Hamas, but with Lebanon and with the Houthis and with So many other enemies that we faced. And yes, maybe the warm peace is a little less warm. But listen, flights to Dubai have not stopped. We had them defending us on April 24 when Iran was striking us overnight. Again in September, they vetoed 3 boycotts from the Arab League. And they said 3 weeks ago, and not the European countries in Canada and Australia, that Hamas has to end its rule. That gives me hope.
Absolutely. Well, truly living in a time of miracles. May we only see more in the upcoming year. And to all the young men and women who are serving our country as lone soldiers in Bnot Shirut, you're on the front line. We have your back, and we will always defend you as you defend our state. Please join me in thanking Matty Friedman, Adir Schwartz, and Fleur Hassan Nachum. Thank you very much.
That was really interesting, inspiring, optimistic, but thank you very much. Michael, I have to really say thank you for stepping in. And I also want to thank all of you for your friendship to the Michael Levin Lone Soldier Base. Adir, thank you, especially who we have a wonderful relationship with Adir and the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to give you now something as a token of our appreciation.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you all.
We have a video now, but wow, what an evening of inspiration.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Rosenbaum, and I am one of the co-directors of the Michael Levin Base. Michael Levin was a lone soldier from Pennsylvania who came to Israel to serve as a lone soldier.
And during his service, he found all these issues the lone soldiers need to take care of. And he decided that when he'd be released, he would start an organization that would support lone soldiers. Unfortunately, Michael Levin was killed in the Second Lebanon War, and his friends and his family, in his legacy, decided to keep on his dream and to make sure that the lone soldiers never feel alone.
The base is like a co-working place, as you see. Soldiers can get all answers connected to the army.
Here you can find everything you need: food, friends, people who wants to help you, people who wants to listen to you, and place to relax, a place to study.
We also give equipment for the service, like, for example, watches, shoes, backpacks, and much more.
The Michael Levin Base has been really helpful, whether that be to just go and hang out with other guys there, or to get some very incredibly helpful and useful gear that they have available for lone soldiers.
We make events for soldiers: wine tasting, ceramic, workshops, lectures, barbecue, yoga, games, and all Jewish holidays. So we do everything to help soldiers not feel alone. We try to make a home for them here.
Hi, my name is Hodi Breslawa, and I am the Shirut Leumi advisor here at the Michael Levin Base. Shirut Leumi is the opportunity to serve in national service. At the Michael Levin Base, we help support them by being a home for them to come to, and we organize events for them. I visit them in their apartments, I visit them where they're working, and we just make sure that during their year they feel like they have a family and a place to turn to for anything that they may need.
If I need something, I could always get it, and the events are very helpful to meet new people. The Shabbos meals are so helpful that I could come and socialize and meet new people.
We have 5 Bnot Shirut who serve here at the Michael Levin Base and help keep the place running.
I decided to serve at the base. I just wanted to find a way to help people who made Aliyah without their family, because I can't imagine how much more difficult that is.
I think there are several things that make our organization unique. We not only help lone soldiers, but we also help lone Bnot Shirut. We have a French, Russian, Hebrew, Spanish, and Anglo division.
You know, building a community and helping people meet one another. And I think that that's something that we'll keep doing even in the next 10 years to make sure that these lone soldiers and lone Bnot Shirut have that support and have a community and that they don't feel alone.
Me personally, I've been going to the base almost every Shabbat. I met many friends there. It's such a privilege to have people that really care about you people that are there for you and want to help you.
I love the base because it's really a place where they host events for Banot Shirut and soldiers, and it's an opportunity for me to meet people and talk to other people my age who are also doing their service, and it's just very, very meaningful.
Michael Levin base is like a family, so of course I'm proud to wear the shirt.
Yeah, literally a home away from home. Everything we need, support emotionally, physically, they got everything there. It's amazing.
It really shows that you're not alone. There's other people going through it with you. And yeah, just going through a community, it's nice.
I was a lone soldier, and I know how difficult to be alone in a country where you don't have a family. And if I had known about such organization during my service, I would have really wanted to have a family like the Michael Levin base.
For me, the Michael Levin base has really been an amazing support system. It's given me an incredible community and a lot of friends. And I'm really grateful for all of the support, and I just hope that they continue to do that for everyone next year and in the years to come.
What we've accomplished in the past 5 years is nothing short of a miracle. I can't wait to see what happens in the next 5 years. Hopefully we'll be in a larger home, a permanent home. Hopefully we'll be able to just welcome hundreds of more lone soldiers in Lom Banot Shirut. But honestly, it can only be with your help that we could take this to the next stage and the next steps on this incredible journey of the Michael Levin base.
I'd now like to invite Carol and Mark Goldberg to receive the first award of the evening, the Volunteer Appreciation Award. Carol and Mark made Aliyah in 2014. Carol, known for her reliability, is on Bonnie and Liz's speed dial. She springs into action whenever needed. She established and continues to coordinate a cooking brigade that now includes 100 volunteers who provide meals and food to the base. Carol also ensures that the base's emergency supply cupboards remain well stocked, often encouraging visitors from her former community to bring items to Israel and see the base in action. In addition, she plays a key role in fundraising to support these vital efforts. Trained as a clinical caseworker, Mark has worked in a variety of different roles in the United States. At the Michael Levin base, he heads the Medical and Mental Health Committee. He created the Health Advisory Referral Intake process for the lone soldiers and Banot Shirut and their families, addressing counselling, psychological and medical needs. By building strong relationships with non-profit clinical and administrative directors, Mark ensures referrals are handled quickly and effectively, while maintaining direct contact to see that each case is resolved with the care. This process has become the go-to resource for lone soldiers and their families seeking support. We greatly appreciate everything that both of you do. Thank you. I'd like to present you with this.
Good evening, everyone. A warm greeting to my family and my children. Carol and I are truly grateful to the Michael Levin base for the opportunity to support the dedicated lone soldiers and lone Banot Shirut serving our country. As a volunteer social worker, I work closely with these remarkable individuals, helping them navigate health and relationship challenges. It's vital that we remind them they are not alone. Though they may carry the title of lone soldiers and lone Banot Shirut, we will ensure they never feel lonely. This is the legacy Michael Levin of blessed memory left us, one carried forward by his family, friends, and volunteers like you. For Carol and I, supporting these brave young people and their families is a true labor of love. Working alongside the devoted staff, board, and volunteers continues to inspire us and reflects our shared values of compassion and unity. Tonight, I was able to share a personal message to Ambassador Huckabee, which I will share with you now. As the son of Holocaust survivors, I recall how my mother was rescued in Czechoslovakia by a righteous Christian couple who hid her as a maid, saving her, my aunt, my cousin Eve, and 16 others. As I told the ambassador, Huckabee, Mr. Ambassador, your steadfast support for Israel and the Jewish people reminds me of that same courage and righteousness. In Hebrew, a Jew is called a Yehudi, from the word hoda'ah, which means gratitude. May God bless Ambassador Huckabee and his family in their vital work for America and Israel. May he go from strength to strength in his love and dedication to the Jewish people and the righteous among the nations. Chazak, chazak.
We are deeply honored and humbled to receive this award. I'd like to share a moment when I truly understood what it meant to be a lone soldier and how it changed me. It was during our second year after making Aliyah. I got a call from a friend in New Jersey. My son Greg is a lone soldier in Tel Aviv, she said. It's not working out and he needs to leave immediately. Can you take him in? We had just moved to our 90 square meter apartment, barely 3 bedrooms, and space was tight. I hesitated and then said, I suppose we can help, but it'll have to be temporary. Greg arrived soon after. His duffel bag was almost as big as the twin high-riser I offered him. When my kids and grandkids came for Shabbat, we had to move his bag onto the garden just to make space and prayed it wouldn't rain. But the moment I truly understand what it means to be a lone soldier came one Thursday night as I was cooking for Shabbat. Greg walked in and said, "The house smells just like my mom's." That Friday, like many after, I did his laundry while he took what felt like the world's longest showers. I smiled watching this young man, far from home, no family nearby, trying to build a life in Israel. That's when it hit me. This is what it means to be a lone soldier. No one to greet you, no one waiting for you for Shabbat. Not long after, I was asked to volunteer with lone soldiers. Saying yes was the easiest decision. Ironically, it wasn't until later that I realized my daughter had gone through something similar. After seminary, she served as a lone bat Sheirut. I recently asked her, how hard was that year for you? She shared what we often so hear, the loneliness, the lack of support, the emotional toll. When Michael Levin Base included Lone Benot Sheirut, it was deeply personal for me. Today, I am proud to be part of the base, an organization I cherish with all my heart. I know every effort I give, every dollar I help raise, directly supports our incredible lone soldiers and Benot Sheirut. Thank you for letting me be part of this mission and for this incredible honor.
What? I'm going to give it to you properly. We are so grateful to everything that Carol and Mark do at the base. Great pleasure. It gives me great honor to give them the award. Thank you. Where's Carol? Thank you, really. Thank you. I'd now like to invite the recipients of our next awards onto the stage. Ilana Simon, recipient of the Lone Bat Sheirut Award. Reut Engel, recipient of the Lone Soldier Award. And Howard Rosenblum, recipient of the Community Volunteer Award. Before making Aliyah 4 years ago from New Jersey, Howie worked as a pediatrician. Today, he brings that same dedication to his volunteer work at the Michael Levin Base, where, under the guidance of Chief Engineer Bernie Weinberger, he helps maintain the facility's well-being, from building cabinets, running water and electric lines to repairing washing machines and dryers. Howie We don't know what we do without you because he always steps in whenever he's needed. Thank you for helping to look after the base. I'm honored to give you this award.
Thank you. I was in the United States over the summer. One Sunday at 4:19 in the morning, my phone rings. It's the base calling, asking if I would accept the Community Volunteer Award. Ordinarily, I would have argued and begged off, but it's now 4:20 in the morning, and I want to get back to sleep. So here I am. I feel strange accepting the award for volunteering. I've always found that I get more out of my volunteering at the base than I give. For one thing, it makes my wife happy by getting me out of the apartment, and I don't have to be there to hear her and her friends chatting as they knit winter hats for the Chayalim or play mahjong or canasta. More importantly, it allows me to do work that I enjoy, at the same time benefiting the real volunteers, the lone soldiers in Benot Sherut. Here is a group of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who have put their lives on hold. While their peers are in college, preparing for their future careers, going to rock concerts and basketball games, or just smoking pot, they are serving and bravely defending the state of Israel, and occasionally smoking pot. The award for volunteering should really be going to them. So thank you to the board and staff of the base who do the day-to-day work of keeping everything running smoothly, and to all the other volunteers who should be standing here beside me. Also, in the spirit of the Academy Awards, I would like to thank my director, boss, and friend, Bernie Weinberger, for hooking me up with the base and taking me on as his apprentice. For those of you who don't know him, Bernie is the chief construction engineer and repairman of the base. When he is not working at the base, Bernie is thinking of the base, designing the next project or coming up with a new idea to make the life more comfortable for Chayalim and Benot Sherut. And thank you all for coming here tonight to support the Michael Levin base. I hope the acts of tzedakah you have performed by being here tonight will be a merit for speedy victory over our enemies, safety for our soldiers, the release of all our hostages, the mental and physical rehabilitation of our hostages and wounded, and a proper burial for those who have died. Shana Tova.
You do private work.
Thank you.
You do private work. Thank you, Howie. Ilana. Come in. Ilana spent part of her childhood in Israel and later returned as a bat shirut, working in the nursery at the Hadassah Hospital during the war. That experience stirred a deep desire for her to make the decision to make Aliyah. And in 2024, she made that decision. There's more clapping to be done. As a bat shirut at the Michael Levin base, she found a true community and source of support, whether for food, advice, laughter, or simply a hug. Now, Ilana is preparing to draft into the IDF in the coming months. Ilana knows that the base will continue to stand by her. Recently, she's come back and before she started her draft, she chose to give back by becoming a volunteer, helping the very organization that supported her through so much of her service. And we will look forward to continuing supporting you. Do you want to say something more? Or do you want to wait till Ra'ut? Go
on. I would like to thank the base for providing me with endless amounts of support throughout the year. When I made Aliyah in 2024, I didn't know what the year was going to look like, serving as a bat shirut, completely alone, no friends or family, and it was a very difficult decision. Fortunately, within the first few months of getting to know the people at the base, they really became a community and a family, knowing that I never had to worry about finding a meal for Shabbat or for Chag, that there was always someone to talk to, a meal to have during the week, or an event on a Thursday night to keep us entertained. They really, really made sure that I had the most incredible year as a bat shirut, and the support that they've offered me through all of the guidance, all of the advisors has made a tremendous difference. I'm so incredibly grateful for the support they've already given me, and what I'm sure will be an incredible support system as I continue from being a bat shirut to drafting into the army.
So thank you.
And I'd like to give her a certificate of appreciation for all of her help. Thank you. And good luck. Reut. Some of you will remember Reut. She spoke at our October the 7th event last year. She actually came to the event and was asked if she would speak. And I think that those of you who were there will remember her speech, and it was really powerful. Reut realized during a year in seminary, amid the challenges of COVID, that she wanted to make Aliyah. So in 2020, she joined the IDF as a combat medic, relying on the Michael Levin base as her support system for meals, a study space as she was training, doing her medic training, and her social network. Having recently completed nearly 400 days of Miluim, including time in Gaza, she again returned to the base for advice, equipment, and as a safe haven. Today, Reut pays it forward as the go-to Army medical advisor for current and future soldiers, assisting with navigating the medical bureaucracy in the IDF. And she also helps provide assistance for the Banot Shorut who are performing national service. I'll give you a certificate after. You have to say something.
When I was in my training, we were taught a story. It's called The Folding of the Parachute. It talks about how a soldier folded another paratrooper's parachute, and as he jumped, there was a malfunction. It goes on to talk a bit further, and it talks about how that soldier then met the other soldier who folded his parachute. When I was in the Army, we were taught it as an idea that everyone in the Army plays their part, and that combat soldiers aren't everything. And I thought that's what it was. And then I realized that it's not. I realized that it's the entire country. This country is made up of people who do their parts, and in some ways it looks small, but it never is. Every single time I came out of Gaza, I can tell you specifically my last time in Rafah, as they say, I walked into the base after a specifically grueling situation, and I came in and one of the Banot Shorut at the base hugged me and said, "Welcome home." And I was home. We talk a lot about soldiers coming home fully, also in their health and also in their mental health. I can tell you without a doubt that I wouldn't be here without every single one of you, without the base as a whole, and without every single person who contributes to the base. So for that, I want to say thank you.
I'd like to give you a certificate of appreciation. Thank you both. Thank you both for your service.
Good evening, everyone. We're Mark and Harriet Levin, the proud parents of Michael Levin of blessed memory, and it is our pleasure to be able to join you this evening.
For those of you unfamiliar with our son's story, allow me to briefly explain. Michael was a lone soldier on leave in Philadelphia when the 2006 Second Lebanon War broke out. He rushed back to Israel, defied orders, and rejoined his youth just as they were entering Lebanon. Leading his troops in battle, he became the first paratrooper and the only American to fall in that conflict.
Besides being a passionate and devoted Zionist, Michael was also a visionary. He had a dream of one day creating a national lone soldier organization, an organization that would cater to the needs of over 7,000 lone soldiers serving in the IDF. We're proud to say that that vision, that dream has become a reality. The creation of the Michael Levin base has fulfilled that very need. The soldiers that it serves, along with the numerous programs and services it provides, has exceeded even our wildest dreams.
So a shout out goes to Bonnie, Lizzie, Richard Corman, and the entire staff and volunteers of the base for the extraordinary work that they do. Also, special mention goes to U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee for taking time out of his very busy schedule to be with us tonight. In addition, a thank you to Michael Oren, who never misses an opportunity to help the base, and Israel's lone soldiers. Thank you, Michael. We commend you all, including tonight's honorees, for your hard work, dedication, and numerous accomplishments.
As we wind down on tonight's discussion of anti-Semitism, Harriet and I can't help but think back to the difficulties that our son Michael faced in high school. As the only boy in that public school wearing a kippah and tzitzit, well, he stuck out like a sore thumb. Despite the name-calling and physical assaults thrust upon him, he remained steadfast in his beliefs and the life-altering journey he was about to undertake. It is that type of unwavering commitment, conviction, and perseverance that we must now embrace in order to carry on this battle against anti-Semitism. Yes, the Jewish world has certainly changed since October 7th, but it is our response to that change that will ultimately define us. This is the challenge of our times. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this important and meaningful event. Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai.
The words you've heard tonight reflect the reality of what is happening in the world, but let us also remember the privilege of living in the state of Israel. Though it can be challenging, we are blessed with our own army, and tonight is about supporting our lone soldiers and Banot Shirut who've chosen to serve this country. The Michael Levin base is open 7 days a week, closing only on Yom Kippur, and provides meals throughout the week as well as on Shabbat and the Chagim. In addition, we offer a wide range of services, including programs, weekly events, all-pan classes, advising, counselling, laundry facilities, base visits, parties, and a fully stocked supply closet. Everything we do is driven by one purpose: to ensure that our lone soldiers and Banot Shirut know that they are never alone. We are proud that the Michael Levin base provides services not only in English, but also in Russian, Spanish, French, and of course Ivrit. We have a growing lone Israeli soldiers group. Our support extends to every stage, before they join the army, throughout their service, and after. We also stand with the families of those who serve, offering the care and guidance they need. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our incredible staff who put their hearts into everything they do and make sure that everything runs seamlessly. Bonnie, Lizzie, Aaron, Emily, Gav, Hodi, Liba, Naamah, Orel, Oren, Sammy, Samuel, and Sadok, Vitali, Yaakov, and Yoni. Our Banot Shiruts are Abby, Esther, Kuna, Sha'am, and Talia. This evening couldn't have been possible without them organising this and everything that they do. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank Ambassador Huckabee, Michael Dixon, Fleur Hassan Nahum, Adir Schwartz, and Matty Friedman for taking the time to enjoy us and giving us plenty to think about. To our awardees, Carol and Mark Goldberg, Ilana Simon, Reut Engel, and Howie Rosenblum, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us tonight. If you'd like to get involved, learn more, or come for a visit to the base, please don't hesitate to speak with one of our staff members. They're the people wearing name tags. I'd now like to invite Richard Coleman, Chairman of the Board, to the stage for the closing remarks.
This was quite a program, and it exemplifies how much the Michael Levin base has grown in just 5.5 years. You know, there was a movie in the United States called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. We have built it, and they are coming, and they are coming, and they are coming. And was it coincidental, or was it beshert, that we had 4 Michaels here tonight? Michael Dixon, my former supervisor, my former boss, it's a great evening to see you. Michael Oren, who, believe it or not, I know from high school in New Jersey. Mike Huckabee, who we all have grown to love for his support of the State of Israel. And in spirit, Michael Levin, Zichrono Livracha. So what's the connection of four Michaels this evening? In the Tanakh, the angel Michael is referred to as the highest of the angels. Michael means being close to God. And what was the job of Michael, the angel who was close to God? To defend the Jewish people. All four Michaels have carried out that responsibility in their own way. And we are so lucky to have them here this evening. Thank you so much. I want to thank our MC, Andrea, who thanked so many people. Andrea is an active member of our board, and I'd like to thank our board members who give of themselves throughout the year, our devoted and very capable staff, head by Bonnie and Lizzie, who you noted this evening. Our awardees who are responsible for so much going on in the base, Carol, Mark, Alana, Raut, Howie. Those of you who would like to come and see the Michael Levin base, if you've never been there, I'm extending an invitation. We're right near Shuk Machane Yehuda. Please see me after the program, and I'd be happy to give you the information so you can come and visit. I'd like to finish with an important point, and it was made time and time again this evening. We are a grassroots organization. We are a dynamic Amutah. We provide scores of programs and important services that are vital for Chayalim Bodadim, for lone soldiers, and for Benot Shirut, women who do national service. But what are the two elements that connect everything? The two elements are we have become extended family and we have become community. And it's because of you who support us and you who care enough to come this evening that we're able to continue that dream that Michael had and turn it into a field of dreams so that in the future we'll be able to serve even more people. I look forward to carrying out that mission together with your support and the support of the staff and the support of the board as we complete our 5th year of service. So thank you for coming this evening. After Hatikva, you're all invited to a delicious reception. If you follow the corridor around, you'll see we've planned a very special evening for you. Thank you so much.
While he's just setting up, I just want to wish you a Shana Tova. May it be a year that our hostages are returned soon and our soldiers stay safe and they too come home soon. Wishing everybody a Shana Tova from the base.
מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה ביבשה באוויר ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון ויקרם בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתחזק ותשמור ותנצור את אחינו בית ישראל, השבויים והשבויות. בעבור שאנו מתפללים בעבורם, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, ישמרם מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם. יוציאם מחושך וצל מוות, וישיבם מהרה לחיק משפחותיהם, ונאמר אמן. אחינו כל בית ישראל הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום מרחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרווחה, ומאפלה לאורה ומשעבוד לגאולה, אשתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ונאמר אמן. התקווה. כל עוד בלבב פנימה נפש יהודי הומיה ולפת מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו את ציון ירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו את ציון ירושלים. Good evening.
I just have one more thank you. Anne and Arthur Gober, thank you so much for helping us make tonight so special.